Okay, and we are live and going. Welcome back, everyone. I am excited to finally have some time for coding. It has been a busy week for me, and I haven't had enough time to code, and so I am very excited to finally have an evening to spend time doing it. So for tonight, I'm going to deviate just for a little bit from my usual material design in XAML. I got distracted over the weekend playing with Azure Logic apps and found them to be really cool. So wanted to show you guys sort of what they are, how they work, and then I'll show off the little one that I built to help out a little bit with this stream. So kind of just a practical application of some of the cool stuff that you can do with them. So let's switch over here. And not that one. That one. Okay, so for anyone who has an MSDN subscription, you have a bunch of free Azure credits on the table every month. And so if you are not using those, I would encourage you to log in to msdn.microsoft.com, click the little button to activate your Azure benefits, and start taking advantage of them because some of the stuff that's out there is really quite awesome. So we're going to just walk through real quick sort of what a Logic app is and how to build one. So I'll back up here. I've just got an empty resource group. I called it just testing, just as a kind of a playground area to go through and have some fun in. So we're going to add a new resource, do a quick search for Logic apps, and hello. Let's see here, Logic apps. There it is. And create button. And so we'll give this one streaming demo. Wow, I cannot type tonight. Stream ing last time I checked. Okay, and we will put it in an existing resource group. And sure, Central US sounds great. So this is going to be the name of my Logic app. How am I going to pay for it? It's with an MSDN subscription. We'll put it in an existing resource group that we have, and then the location is just going to default to the same location as my resource group, which is Central US, which is great. And we'll hit create and let it go. For anyone who's used the service if this then that, you can sort of think of Logic apps as an enterprise grade solution that have kind of the same idea, but I guess a lot more power behind them. So with if this then that, you're sort of limited to, if thing A happens, then do thing B, right? With Logic apps, you can get a lot more advanced. You can build conditional logic, loops. You're not limited just by the connectors that they give you. You can roll your own. You can have it call out your own REST function, and you can build your own connectors if you want. So let's take a look at this, because this got me real excited over the weekend when I was playing with it, and it started to get me thinking about all of the things that I wanted to then build and use it for. So because it works really, really well, at least once I understood what I was doing. There was a little bit of trial and error that had to go along with it. But for the most part, things were pretty simple and straightforward. So when you first fire up and create a new Logic app, you can go through. They've got a whole bunch of pre-built templates. So for just sort of kind of common things that you might want to do, get daily reminders emailed to you. You can see there's a whole bunch of integrations to various services. Obviously, all of the Microsoft stuff, like what you would expect, is all kind of built in. But even things like Twitter, Slack, YouTube, Instagram, kind of all of those fancy ones, even things like MailChimp and Dropbox and all kinds of cool stuff. So you if one of the templates looks close to what you want, or you just kind of want to see an example of how do I build something out and what should the end result look like, go ahead and grab one of these. But in our case, we're just going to start with a blank template and go from there. So this is sort of where you start, and when it dumps you in, there's kind of two ways to look at this. We're in the designer view at the moment, but we can also look at this from the code perspective as well if you want to actually see what it's doing under the hood. So in this case, let's go through, and I've already tied this guy up to my YouTube account, so I'm going to just go with this. So when I upload a video, and then hopefully it finds my existing service connection. Should find one sitting there already, I hope. Otherwise, we may just going to do this over here real quick because I don't know what it's going to show or prompt for. I don't quite remember. Oh, just basic OAuth screens all the way through. So log yourself in and it'll build a service connection for you. I bet you it's because my service connection's in a different resource group. Anyway, so this guy's going to go out and pull my YouTube account for my videos to watch when I've uploaded a new video. And you can control the frequency. There's an interval. You can have it go from minutes, seconds, hours, days, and pull through. I know YouTube has rate limiting, so I suspect that there's probably a rate that you can set that's too fast. But in my case, something simple like maybe once an hour is more than sufficient for what we're going to do. And then this is where things start to get really fun. So from here, once we upload a video, now we can do something with it. So for something simple, we'll just say let's just send an email. So yeah, so send email, great. And once again, it's going to make me go through my OAuth stuff. Just going to drop this window over on my second monitor real quick. And I'm just going to click through. Yes, yes, I authorize Azure DevOps. Yes, you can have access to my account. Great. And so here, let's see. Let's go through and just foo@bar.com. Obviously, this email isn't going to work. But then we can start adding in parameters. So, you know, you probably want a subject line, body, and there's other choices. But those are the interesting ones. So let's say, so new video, wow, video uploaded. Okay, right? And now we get to start having fun, because you'll notice over on this right here, there's dynamic content. So the previous connector, this YouTube connector, has a whole bunch of information that it's flowing through that we can then go through and pull the information out of to say, okay, what am I interested in? Am I interested in the idea of the video? You know, I probably want a link. You know, there's a title. At least with the YouTube connector, some of the names, just because of the nesting, get a little weird. Video list, video summary, channel ID. Basically read this as the video's channel ID, the video's channel title, the description for the video, the publish date, and the title of the video. So the naming here gets a little weird, but that's basically what it translates down to. So you might put something like just uploaded, and we'll just insert that guy right there. Something like watch it here, right? And video web link. And that's great, and this is kind of all fine and good, and this is something very simplistic, and it works really well for just sort of automating some workflows. But we can get even more advanced than that. So say we don't want to necessarily just do A, then B, then C. For example, we can then say, okay, let's do a parallel branch. So after this guy's uploaded, I can now split this off into two different effective code branches that I wanted to do, and say, okay, now I actually wanted to go to maybe my Twitter feed and say, okay, let's now post a tweet, or let's actually, rather than connecting yet one more account, yeah, go ahead and delete it. Let's go back, put that parallel branch back in. Let's see, what else do we want to play with? Let's do something like maybe an Azure queue and upload a list. Regardless, let's actually switch over, because I think I'm going to show you the logic app that I built, sort of based on this, and kind of walk through it. So the first idea that I had come up with for this is there's sort of this long process that I go through. Every time I complete a stream, I have to go through, export it to YouTube, add a bunch of information, and then, you know, do the usual posting and that kind of stuff. And a lot of times I end up just skipping, you know, tweeting out, hey, you know, the new video's live, and it's like, well, whatever, people will find it. And I realized that this would be sort of the ideal thing to start automating some of those basic processes of, you know, what do I want to do with each of these. So, for example, when I upload a video, it's just going to pull my account every hour, which is great. And then what I'm interested in doing, and so I tested it out with the email, just so that I could see it and verify the information that was going. but there's basically a prefix message because there's 2 times that I upload videos to YouTube. I'm either recording something locally and manually uploading it, or it's something that I've exported from Twitch. And Twitch, when you export it, it tacks on a little broadcasted on Twitch with a URL at the bottom of the video description. So I decided, okay, well, let's make some assumptions that if we see Twitch somewhere in the description of the video, that this video came from Twitch. So in these values, in addition to just taking the straight up dynamic content that you can now start to get even more advanced and start building out functions. And you don't have to necessarily even have just one value here. You can tack multiple values in here to set these guys up. So in this case, I said, okay, let's create a new message prefix variable. It's going to be of type string. And let's see, I think if we flip over to code view, this might be a little cleaner to look at. So if you are interested in actually like downloading the, it looks very much ARM template like of this guy, you can do so here. Let's see here. So post a tweet, send email notification, not interested. So set message prefix. So message prefix, it's a variable, it's of type string, and then it's got this long value condition here. So what this does is it says, okay, from the trigger body, look at snippet description, which this is the video description from the previous step in here, and it says, look if it contains the word Twitch. If it does, it starts with the message prefix, Twitch stream posted to YouTube. And otherwise, it just says new video posted to YouTube. Great, fine, wonderful. The next variable that we go through and initialize was going through and actually setting up tags, because ultimately what I'm looking to do is tweet out and say, hey, you know, new video posted, etc. And so what I went through and did and said, okay, if the description also contains something about material design, I'm going to assume that it's one of the videos about the material design in XAML library, and I'm going to go through and just attach a whole bunch of the normal prefixes that I normally do to it. And so you'll note this is one long string that I've just comma separated. All right? And let's go back up to, not email, we'll look at the Twitter one. So post a tweet, right? So it comes through, and for the tweet text, it grabs the message prefix variable, puts a period on the end of it for the end of the sentence. It then goes through and grabs the link to the YouTube video here. And then it goes all the way back, and it goes and grabs this variable for tags, splits on the commas, and then tacks a bunch of spaces on. Now, I could have gone through and saved myself a little bit of trouble avoiding this kind of split and join, and just tack the string in directly the way that it needed to be. But ultimately, I was trying to look at this as I may want to add some additional steps where I append more things or remove items from it, and so thinking of playing with this. There's also array types and sort of a lot of those built-in primitives that you are used to that you can go through and build. And there are tons of API connectors. Let's jump back over here because there was one other thing I wanted to show that I didn't get to. So, so this is kind of the for you, all the stuff. The built-in one, this is what really impressed me, is you can do all kinds of stuff. So one, you can just do straight up inline code. It's JavaScript, I believe, where you're basically acting on the JSON payload with access to all of the variables and everything like any of the other steps get. So if you just want to straight inline some code to build one of these logic apps, you can totally do it here. You can shell out to Azure functions, HTTP calls. You can call into your own web services. And if you have a web service that outputs an open API, what used to be called a Swagger doc, you can use that to build up your own logic app connectors so that you can now start tying these things together. All kinds of stuff. There's the basic programming logic, so conditional control flow, so your if then else statements. For eaches for iterating. You've got switch statements, loop until, all kinds of the basic date time functions. As you saw before, there's sort of the normal functions that you would expect for manipulating data built into them. A lot of data transforms. There's also really useful apps in here for doing things on like scheduling and delay and batching and that kind of thing. So if you have a simple request where you just need to basically batch a bunch of messages and do retry logic, that works. All of these steps have built in, so for example here, if we pull this guy and do settings, so there is dealing with timeouts, retry policies, because obviously, especially when you're calling external web services, things don't always work. It'd be nice if the internet was perfect. It rarely is. So it has all of that kind of stuff built in for you. You can go through and if you have multiple steps, you can actually tell it. Let's jump back over here. Something where I've got a few more things built up. So for example, on these things you can configure run after to say that I only want this step to run if the previous one was successful, which is the default, because if one of these guys fails up here for any reason, these ones never get invoked, because by default everything only runs if the previous stuff was successful. But you can have it run when failed, or if there was a timeout, or if there was a skip, so you can somewhat get that conditional logic built in there as well. So I think these things are awesome. I'm having a lot of fun with them. My plan is to go through and try to start automating as much of my life as I can with these things, because they are really cool and fairly cheap to run on Azure from what I've seen. I've had this guy just sort of pinging my stuff for a couple days, and I think it's cost me about 3 cents. So they are, obviously it depends on what you're doing, but they can be really cheap to run, and they are really kind of cool to be able to build up. The one thing I've heard is some people kind of find them to be a little gimmicky and don't really, the whole click and drag and, oh, look, I've got pretty arrows and boxes, doesn't really feel like enterprise-grade software. This is enterprise-grade software. This stuff works, and it works really, really well. So take a look at it, especially if you've got some workflows or things where it's essentially moving data around or kind of pulling retry logic. This kind of stuff can really help smooth over some of those rough edges where, a lot of times you end up kind of writing those simple one-off apps to just do one little task. So that's where I was going with logic apps. Again, I think these things are awesome. If other people like them, great. If there's something that you think would be cool to build, let me know in the comments. I sort of had an idea of building out an automatic tweet machine. Like there's different services like Twuffer that will go through and let you schedule your tweets, so you can have things go out on a predefined schedule. I was thinking of basically trying to build the same thing out with a logic app, because it seemed like that's exactly what this thing could do really well. So if that's interesting to people and you'd like to see that, let me know, because I was thinking it might be a fun little thing to build, because it's actually something that I would start using right away. Cool. So with that said, let's head back to material design. We are going to get going. So the 3.0 milestone is still sort of chugging along. Again, my hope and plan is to try and release that, release this 3.0 release later this month, ideally right along the same time .NET Core 3 releases. So that is the game plan and the hope. So just be aware that that is hopefully coming. What I may end up doing, since a lot of the key issues for 3.0 have been resolved, I suspect this whole list may not necessarily get resolved in time, and so some of these items may get bumped into a 3.01. It's also worth noting that people who are using the MAApps integration, I don't think the MAApps integration package with .NET Core will be ready to go when this 3.0 package releases. So this will be a 3.0 release of material design in XAML proper. So it'll just be the colors and the material design themes NuGet packages, with the MAApps one probably waiting to release until MAApps 2.0 drops, just to make my life a little bit easier. Because right now, to support .NET Core would require targeting their 2.0 preview package. But now that has breaking changes with the 1.6.5 current release, and so trying to support both of those inside of our one package is doable, but is a lot of work and a bit of a hassle when I could just drag my feet a little bit and wait for their 2.0 to drop and then add support. So if you're wanting to jump into .NET Core right away and you're hoping to use this with MA apps, please be patient and give me a little bit of time. But know that it will be coming very quickly on the heels. So going through and looking at this, there was a couple issues in particular that I wanted to jump and address. And the first one is this 1357. So there is, unfortunately, because I run ReSharper, I missed this when the 2.6.0 release went out the door. So with 2.6.0, we added a new way of doing theming. I'll pop the wiki open to show real quick. Is before in your app.xaml, there was a bunch of different resource dictionaries that you needed to go through and add to make sure that you brought in all of the colors. Does this show the old one? Yeah, so you'd end up with an app.xaml that looked kind of like this. And this isn't bad. You just have to know that, okay, here's where my primary color is, here's where my accent color is, and you can set these up. These then did limit you to just the built-in colors and didn't allow for a lot of customization, and that's what we addressed in the 2.6.0 release. So with 2.6.0, you can now go through and make that same app.xaml that we just saw. You can do it like this. And this ends up with the exact same result. You still need to add the merged resource dictionary for the built-in styles to make sure that all of your controls get the material design look and feel to them. But then when it comes to colors, you can just grab the bundled theme, and it then has a few properties on it that you can set for light, primary color, secondary color. And these will go through. This is just a markup extension that returns a new resource dictionary with all of these settings pre-populated for you. Now the problem that comes is Visual Studio is not hip to the idea that this markup extension returns a resource dictionary. So let's go take a look at that real quick. So bundled theme. Boom, boom. So this is just a markup extension, and you'll notice it is decorated with the attribute to say that yes, this does in fact return a new resource dictionary. Its provide value method does go through and create a new resource dictionary and pre-populates that resource dictionary with all of the appropriate theme brushes. Now unfortunately, if you do this and you don't have something like ReSharper running, the Visual Studio Designer whines and complains with a warning saying that, oh, the only thing allowed inside of a merged dictionary collection is in fact resource dictionaries, which is true, except for this markup extension does in fact return a resource dictionary. So what this pull request does is it goes through and changes the bundled theme markup extension to be itself a resource dictionary that then you can go through and set the properties on, and then it goes through and builds up and basically does the same work that the markup extension was doing. So there's a couple small issues with this that I wanted to address, but I think this is going to be the first one that we try to get in because this feels like the type of issue that's a bit of a regression, and I do try to prioritize those types of issues above the other ones. So pull request 1357. Let's go grab. I really got to clean this out. Let's see. Let's just start collapsing some stuff up. So 1357. This guy here. And go gadget. Check out pull request. There we go. Fix custom themes. So let's see. 2 commits, theme markup extension, and theme markup extension. So all in the one file. Great. Great. Yep. So we're probably gonna I'm probably gonna do a few things here. What are you thinking about here? Project modification. Yeah, I changed branches. Please reload. It's probably a little unhappy that I did this on top of. Oh, it's because we changed from the old CS proj to the new CS proj. Let's just ignore. Let's shut down. I think the first thing we're going to do is just move this real quick. And let's just replay this or rebase this right on top of master real quick. Great. So that moves up. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And now we have all the latest stuff. Great. That's what we wanted. I didn't think there were any changes that should have conflicted with that, so that makes it easy. We'll fire this guy back up, and now Visual Studio should be happier. There's a weird kind of catch-22 right now since we switched to the new CS proj format. When you change branches going back and forth, Visual Studio is not always happy about having the new CS proj ripped out from under it and replaced with the old one and vice versa. So the new CS proj is wonderful. It does the hot reload so much better, but when you're going back and forth between the two, it can be a bit of a pain. Sometimes you just got to throw in the towel and restart your Visual Studio. But it is a problem that will eventually go away as things move forward and I stop having to go back to old commits. Okay, so let's go and pick this guy up. So as the markup extension, I should probably break this guy up because these guys really should be broken up into their own files. So I like this change here of doing the bundled thing into the resource dictionary. I think I'm not going to keep around the markup extension. There's not a lot of reason to keep the markup extension if we have the resource dictionary, and I think it would just add confusion. Technically, switching from this type name down here is a breaking change, but as far as your XAML is concerned, for anybody who's already switched over, come on, Chrome, you can do it. If your XAML looks like this because the names are going to line up and the namespace is still going to match, it'll work just fine for you. So if you were doing something fancy where maybe you derived from one of these classes, just be aware that this change is coming, and it is a breaking change. But I am okay with this breaking change if it makes the code a lot easier to use. So we have all of these properties and a call to set theme on each of these after each one is done. Because before with the markup extension we had a concept of provide value, so we could get invoked after all of our properties were set. With this one, no such luck. So I think we're going to change a couple things here. Yeah. So that is true there, and I think the first thing I'm going to change is making each of these enums nullable, because I do want to have a concept of whether these have been set or not. And if they haven't been set, we can avoid doing some lookups. By making them non-nullable, they're going to drop through to their default values, and that looks like an opportunity for some confusion to arise. So I think, again, I like how this was done. This is roughly the direction I would be going, but I think what we're going to do is start tweaking this just a little bit. Because knowing when these values have actually been set and then appropriately updating the resource dictionary, I believe is a good idea. So let's see, theme, create theme, set theme. I'm wondering if we should be augmenting the existing theme rather than just throwing it away every time. So I think we can change up these property setters too. The other thing that we want to do is we don't want to always blindly just set theme. It's a more of an edge case, but in general, if you've got a property set up like this, you want to make sure that you aren't doing the expensive work if the property hasn't actually changed. Okay, so this is, yeah, that's going to cause some problems. So let's just start with like primary color. And I think we'll, come on, what are you doing? There you go. So if primary color not equal to value, then we'll actually do work. All right. So then we'll set it, and I think, let's see here. I think we can do this get theme to extract the current theme. I'm curious what this is going to do if there is no theme there. I don't recall. Let's see. So if it has an existing theme, it knows how to grab it and jump out. Otherwise, it's going to try and look it up, which isn't going to play nice. Not going to play nice with the other kids. Because we're going to need to actually set the theme in the first place. Maybe we should just blindly set the theme on all the cases. That would make it easier. Let's go back to that. Maybe we go with this set theme approach. Still, I think we still add these basic checks in all over these. Again, I suspect that most people are probably not going through calling these setters a bunch and passing identical values, but it's still better practice to go through and handle that case and not be wasteful. So let's do that, do that, do that. Make sure. Thank you. That was a little bit too much of a jump. We've got the same one with the custom color down below as well. So secondary color gets value, something like that. And then we'll call set theme. Okay, so that one's done, that one's done, that one's done. So I think then what we do is if base theme is base theme. So for those people not familiar with it, this is the new pattern matching syntax that came to us in C#7. It also, so in this case, I'm just using the pattern match as basically a null check and an assignment all boiled into one. So if this thing is not null, then it will be a base theme and it'll set the local variable base theme. So it's a quick and easy way to get a null check and assignment all together. Primary color is primary color. Same thing there. And I'm wondering if I should make all of these, because this is effectively making all of these properties required. Because these guys had fallbacks. I think we do make them all required. And if you don't set all of them, then you end up not getting your theme set. And I think that probably makes sense to avoid having the theme set if you haven't actually specified these. There's enough styles throughout the library where the primary and secondary colors are required, and if you haven't specified one, you're going to get a very odd-looking control because then you get an unset brush, which effectively goes down to transparent, which isn't really helpful. So I think we're going to go with that. If people have strong opinions about how you think the bundled theme should work, let me know. But I think at least for now, since we already are making a breaking change, we're going to make a big behavioral breaking change as well. So now this guy here, we can use our local variable base theme because we now know it's no longer nullable. Same thing for both of these, primary and secondary colors. This will create us up a new theme. So base theme is expected to either be light or dark. Primary and secondary colors are going to be one of the enum values. So all of the built-in themes, so red, pink, purple, etc., etc., etc. As everyone knows, purple is best. Okay, so that handles the bundled theme here. This set theme, I don't understand what this is here for. I know this existed previously in the markup extension. Hey, Exotic Funk, how are you doing? I don't think we need it here, though. I may decide that we do need it after we get to the Ma Apps one. Doing good. Just trying to get some of the material design pull requests done and merged in. So if you are a WPF developer and interested in material design, welcome. It's great to have you. Or if you just like C# or like me, just enjoy coding. Either one. Though it is a little bit late for me, and I still have to do some grocery shopping here in a couple hours at midnight. So it'll be a long night. Oh, cool. Where are you studying? I assume computer science? We're gonna make the same nullability checks here. Cool. That's awesome. How far along in your school are you? Let's see. So nullability there, and then just 3 weeks. You liking it so far? Doing some homework. Well, hopefully I'm not too distracting. But I have to say I've been doing this for 12 years now, and I have never regretted my decision to go into computer science. It was not initially what I was planning on doing, but once I got in and trying it, I had a professor that very much hooked me on it. So after that, I was basically set. Okay, so in the interest of consistency, we're going to rename this guy to set theme as well, because even though it's a private method, I like my APIs to be consistent. Oh, cool. Yeah, C++ is actually it's a little bit harder language to get going on. So if you make it through the first class and you're still enjoying it, you probably have a winner right there. So don't feel too bad if you seem a little lost, especially with C and C++. There's a lot of fundamentals that really get hammered home with those. So things like memory management and pointers especially. Do be aware that there are other languages that operate at a little bit higher level that don't make you deal with some of those nitty-gritty details. So for example, C#, what you see me using here, is my preferred language of choice. You don't quite have to deal with things like pointers and memory management directly, but it's those types of concepts still very much exist, and you can't really abandon those fundamentals. So if you are, like I said, if you make it through the first class and you're still enjoying it, it's probably definitely a winner. I said I very much enjoy programming. I can't say that I remember a lot of my C++. I haven't done a lot of it since I graduated. Because once I graduated, I got a job doing C#. Where I went to school, Java was the big language that they taught most of the classes in, and so I had a little bit of a background in VB.NET and Java, and they're like, well, just put those two things together and you've got C#. That's not quite true, but it was close enough, and so once I got going on it, I fell in love with the language very quickly. Let's see, we will do the same difference checks on all of these to make sure that we don't accidentally create the theme too many times. Okay, so let's see, primary, secondary. I think it is interesting. I'm noticing that I've somewhat changed my API, and I realized this was exactly what it was in the old code. The bundled theme is using primary color, and this one's just called primary. I'm thinking I want to change these. Yeah, and actually, especially if you're learning programming, I would encourage you, if there's any projects that seem interesting to you, the best way to learn is to find something that you want to build and try to build it. I find that that's where I've actually learned the most. Going through school taught me a lot of the fundamentals and sort of how to get going, but sort of most of my learning came from side projects and just saying, I really wish I had a program that did X, or I want to figure out how to make my computer do Y, and go through and build that out. Building based on what you love or something that you're interested in, I find that it's a whole lot easier to retain that kind of information. I'm actually supposed to be teaching at one of the local universities here coming up in a couple weeks. So at least where I'm at, the universities start a little late in the year. So it'll be fun. It'll be just an introduction to C# class with me and a couple coworkers, but let's see, what are you trying to rename? So that symbol's fine. I expect that. And that symbol's fine. Okay, do it. And we're gonna let some of these. This is gonna break the demo app, but I think I'm okay with it breaking right now because I kind of want to go through and evaluate the usages of these properties to make sure I get them right. So I think I'll have to put a note in to go through and update the wiki for this change, because this is definitely going to make my documentation wrong. And it's always the hardest thing, trying to keep the documentation in sync. So you notice down here there was a similar null check that was being done on these, but I think I'm going to switch this out for the same pattern matching. Don't worry about the string literals. Don't worry about those string literals. We'll go through and deal with those in a minute. Okay, so I think same type of thing here, but because we've named these things the same, I'm just going to cheat. I can copy this code right here, bring this down. Hey, paste. Thank you. Nope, one paste. Would you say Code Academy is a good site to learn a little bit more besides class, lectures, and books? Yes. So I've only used them a little bit. When I was going through school, they weren't really a thing, and so I didn't have access to them. But I have gone through and referred other people to some of the courses. I could not. It's been a while since I've looked at their stuff. But the last time I did, is definitely good information. I guess the big question is, are you just looking for more information on learning C++, or programming in general, or different frameworks, or I guess what are you most interested in learning? Let's see here. So we'll switch these guys over. So this is going to be color properties now rather than enums. So switch those, and then these guys become straight up primary color. Lost in class, so trying to catch up. Yeah, so I would say definitely Code Academy. If you know what the lectures were over that you missed, the hard part is on the internet there is a lot of information that can be old and outdated. Usually stuff for the basic fundamentals isn't too bad. But just be aware there's sort of a running joke that a lot of new programmers copy and paste code from the internet without actually understanding. And so just be aware of that. It's always a trap to just copy code that you see without actually understanding exactly what it's doing. So always make sure that anything that you bring in from the outside that you're clear on what it is and what it should do. But yeah, at least for like the fundamental stuff, I would say something like Code Academy is probably a great place to start. Okay, so once again, we're going to just whack the empty constructor because default constructor comes built in with every class unless you specify one. I don't think we need the set theme. That's, I believe, left over from when it was a markup extension. Custom color theme, and we're just going to whack the markup extension. And I think we can kill these comments because those type of comments quickly become dated. Working on constants and inputs. So let's see. So so some of that will just be understanding the appropriate syntax for what you're trying to do. Declaring a constant and what exactly a constant is. As the name implies, spoiler alert, it just means a value that's fixed and will never change. As far as dealing with input, basically building out console apps are very common. A lot of people who teach favor them because they tend to be simple enough that you can hammer home the fundamental programming concepts without getting overloaded with full frameworks and that kind of stuff to build out like windows and buttons and that kind of thing. Trying to think. So dealing with input, if I can remember right, with C++, I think it's cin is the default function for just pulling stuff in off the command line. You'll find a lot of information that also duplicates. Oh, good. I do remember something. Yes, it's been a decade, but something is still stuck in my head. Yeah, standard cin. Basically, if I remember correctly, that will take the user's input off your terminal and bring it into a string value that then you can do work with. And it's one of those areas that is ripe for issues. Because once you bring a string in from the user, because you could ask the user to enter a number, and then they type in the letter A. Okay, great. And then understanding sort of what is a string, a group of characters, and then how do I process that input and do conditions on it and that kind of thing. So if you're only 3 weeks in, I know at least when we teach, we don't usually expect students to deal with a lot of failure cases right out the gate, but it is something that we definitely hammer home throughout the classes that I teach, because dealing with failure cases is a huge part of programming. Let's see, so we don't need that, I'm liking this change already. Less code is usually better code. It does mean that these things need to change the file that they're in. Do you use Mimir for classwork or homework? Don't know what that is, so no. When we do assignments, so I'm not actually a teacher by trade. I am a software developer in my day job. So for homework, we try to keep our stuff as close to real world as we can. So everything goes through GitHub. We do pull requests for our assignments. A lot of times it can be a little intimidating for some students because in addition to learning a new language, we're also throwing things like source control and Git at them to try and make them learn. But it matches what we expect from people working in industry. And so the end goal is usually students coming out with a much better understanding of how things actually work. Let's see, rename file to match type name. Okay, so now we've got bundle theme CS, custom color theme.cs. These guys go through here. Okay, so that's a little bit better. So 2 new files, 2 new classes, and both of these guys work a little nicer. Okay, so let's see here. Unit tests first or MA apps first? See, when I'm in class, I'm pretty lost. But when I look at YouTube or hear you, things start making sense. Well, I'm flattered that things make sense when I talk because I can't always claim that I understand what I'm saying, but I'm glad to hear it. And yeah, a lot of people learn sort of at different rates and in different ways. And so if something like going back over YouTube videos or reparsing information works, definitely do it. I would say try to budget your time. I remember when I was in university, the hardest thing for me was making sure that I budgeted my time accordingly, because you've got a lot of classes, a lot of homework, and trying to figure out, okay, how do I get at least what I need done for this class and not fail the other class. So I get it. It's hard, but if you can, try to budget time to go back through some other videos to try to make sure you learn those concepts. So it's a little intimidating. Yeah. Is this we're at the university you're at? Is this one of the starting classes for a lot of computer science students, or are they expecting that some students have come in with like a different programming class or some prior experience? Wow. Okay. That's, like I said, C++ is a bit of a bare language to start with, but again, like I said, if you make it through the first class and you're still loving it, you probably have a winner there, because the languages usually only get easier from there. More popular languages that people tend to do a lot of are Java, Python, C#, again, my language of choice. Even something like if you do mobile applications with like Kotlin, Objective-C, or Swift, they tend to be a little bit better. Objective-C isn't much better than C++. It's a little better. They've got some automatic reference counting for memory management and that kind of thing. It's just really wordy and weird to look at. I like things like this. Okay, I think we're going to go into, let's do the unit test, because this was something that I failed to unit test the first time, and we should definitely unit test it the second time around. So let's go through and add the unit test. So as a bad programmer, I should have started with the unit test first and gone the other way, but I got carried away. Bundled theme. Tests, and we'll end up doing something similar for the custom color theme as well. And I've already forgotten what am I using? Is this MS Test? XUnit. That's right. Okay. I work on too many projects. I get confused as far as what framework I'm supposed to be using. So let's see. I think for a resource dictionary, I don't need an STA thread, so I think I can just do a simple one. Void. Actually, let's do this as a theory. So there are 2 types of unit tests that are out there. There are your basic unit tests, which is just public void, write the code. And then there's another type of unit test called a data-driven unit test. Void when value is missing, theme is not set. Great. I should probably go through the unit test at some point and figure out and make sure I've got a common naming pattern, because I work on enough projects I get confused as to what my own naming scheme is. For now, this will work. So on XUnit, so the idea with a data-driven test is if you just had, fact, you write a test, the test does one thing, great, you then end up repeating it a lot. But if you've got a test that basically differ by values, so in our case, we've got something like a base theme, right? And we might want to test all the values of base theme. So what we can do is we can change this over to a theory, and then XUnit has a whole bunch of different ways of passing in parameters. And I'm going to go with the easiest of the options, which is just straight up inline data. So I can do base theme dot light, and I can do dark, and I can do inherit, and I can do null, right? The problem is I kind of want to test a lot of cases here, right? Because I want to test the base theme values. I want to test, let's see, it was primary color, I think. Am I forgetting my enum name? Nope, there it is. It's because it's in the colors library, not in the primary one. So let's do secondary color. Secondary color. And so it's whining at me here because it realizes that ultimately I need 3 values, not just 1. So the question is, do I want to go through and write out, because you don't have to do inline data on all of these. You can go through, and there's other attributes that let you basically call a method and return back these values as well. What are you unhappy about this? Comma expected. Oh, I missed a comma. Thank you. I think I might just copy and paste these lines a few times and get all of the cases that I'm interested in testing. Because I really only care, so base theme is the interesting one. And actually, I don't even know if I care about, I don't even think I care about these. I really only care, well, I should probably check inherit. But light and dark are basically the exact same case. And I don't need to test all of the values of primary and secondary color. I just need to test has a primary color and null. Yeah, I think that's what we're going with. So let's see. Basic unit testing pattern is arrange, act, assert. So we'll do that. So for those people who haven't seen this before, AAA pattern is very common. Arrange, you do the setup for your unit test. Act, ideally a single line of code. You do the one thing that you're testing. And then assert, you do whatever verification is necessary to make sure that it works. So in our arrange, we are testing bundled theme. So let's create one. Bundled theme. Spelling counts. At least in programming, spelling has to be consistent, even if it's not 100% accurate. Let's see. I am just batting 1,000 today on my typing. Okay, and then in our case, we need to go through and set up. Boy, I need to update the editor config. That's obnoxious. Yuck. Okay, so the base theme property is going to get set to base theme. The primary color gets primary color, and the secondary color gets secondary color. Great. Huzzah. So we do the work. We don't actually have, you know what? Convert to assignment statements. Even though these things can be inlined like that with the property initializer, I'm going to separate them like this. because setting these properties is effectively the thing under test, because the method that we're most interested in testing is this setTheme method, and it's invoked by the property setters. So the property setters are effectively our test. Great. That works. Let's see. So bundled theme is now a resource dictionary. I should be able to call get theme, I think. And I believe get theme should let's see, what is this going to do if it doesn't find the information? Try get color, secondary mid, get color. This is going to throw an invalid op. I really hate testing that condition is what's there. But I suppose we could actually just go after this, because we know when setTheme is called, it should populate this guy in here. So I think we could just pull this out, except for the fact that it's private. That makes it a bit obnoxious to try and look up. How do we want to do this? Don't really want to expose the property. It is an implementation detail. So I think what we should do is call getTheme. This is actually a good question for anybody watching. I would love to hear a comment on whether people think calling getTheme should return null or throw an exception if no theme has been set. Currently it's throwing. The question is that the expected behavior, or should null be coming back? That is the question. Well, so we are going to do assert throws, and we expect an invalid operation exception. Yeah, import for me, please. Thank you. Exotic Funk. One other thing too I was going to mention is I don't know what they're having you do. Oh, don't worry about it. I don't know what they're having you use for your class, but definitely look for they call them an IDE, or an integrated development environment. So basically the program that you use to write the code in, you can write code in any text editor. So you can open up Notepad or Emacs or VI or whatever your favorite editor is and type code and compile it, and that works. But IDEs, like you'll notice I get like these red squigglies and useful error messages. Oh, Sea Lion. Perfect. That was actually the one I was going to recommend. I very much like JetBrains products, despite the fact that ReSharper keeps making me feel slow, but the analysis and the useful errors that it gives are very worthwhile. So yeah, if you're already on Sea Lion, great, because that will definitely help you. Be aware that the IDE will try and force you to write code in a particular way. There are several right ways to write code. There's a lot of wrong ways, and just be aware that your IDE is going to pick one of the right ways and force you down it. So it's always good to learn. Be aware there are technically other ways that are still correct, but there's also a lot of incorrect ways. So don't get too distracted on it. Okay, where was I? Bundled theme. Let's see. Get theme. And I'm going to just assert null. So this is sort of going to be a compound thing all at once, right? So we're going to bundle all kinds of stuff into here. It's already forcing me to write code a certain way. Well, that is probably good. What is Mimir? I'm not familiar with that. Is that a... Let's see. We'll ask my good friend Bing to Google it for me. Mimir Classroom. Oh. Scale without comprising. Well, that's interesting. That's kind of cool. That is one thing that I know that, well, no preview, no nothing. I just wanna see a demo. Um, take me back to Bing. Do, do, do. Let's take a look. Mirror Classroom. Ah, thank you. Scale and automate. Tools for instruction. And scale without compressing. Quality. View demo. That's what I want to see. That is what I want to see. Test case setup. IDE. Oh, clever. Project submission. Online IDE. Yeah, because something like this is actually what me and my coworkers we had contemplated wanting something like this for teaching, because by far the biggest time consumption isn't actually teaching the class itself. It's actually going through and grading all of the homework, because we try to go through and give all of our students code reviews on their homework assignments the same way we would if they were interns working for us, which is great for them, but it's also time consuming for us. So it's a pretty big time sink, and we've tried to figure out ways we can automate it. The hard part is you can't automate a good code review. So yeah, but that is kind of a cool setup though. Okay, so let's see here. So this is just light, and this will be primary color. I'll just use blue as my example case. Let's see here. So boom, 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 boom. I'm going to actually invert this and put the null case all the way at the top. So this says when all of them are null, I shouldn't get anything. When the two base colors are null, it doesn't matter what the base theme is, I should get nothing. This one asserts that when the primary color is set either by itself, I should move this to the top. And then I think the only thing we have left, or the only other condition I care to test here, is secondary color. So you go back to null. We'll do secondary color. We'll pick on blue again, because why not? Blue is great. And let's see, null there, null there. So each of these inline datas is going to invoke this method, passing in the appropriate parameters. So even though I've written sort of one unit test, I've gotten 3, 6, 9 invocations out of it. So now run it, see what happens. Hopefully we get 9 tests and they should all fail. So this last line here is a bit complex. So assert throw takes in a delegate, where inside of the delegate you do an invocation that's expected to throw this exception. So if this delegate does not throw this exception, your test fails. But inside of this guy, I'm actually also, in addition to doing the invocation that's expected to throw the exception, I'm also doing an assert null, just to make sure that if this guy comes back, this will throw a very different exception and propagate up. I'm not sure if that's 100% necessary. Oh well. Worry about that in a minute. Let's make sure these tests actually pass first. So, bring my test window back over here. Go ahead and just dock on the bottom for me. Thanks. Let's see, dialog host test. This is the one I want. Go through, finish compiling. I am noticing that it's missing some some dependencies, so it probably has to pull down everything first. Okay, 9 tests, all of them are green. Great. I'm thinking this isn't actually that helpful, because if it doesn't, like if it returns a value, it by definition then has not thrown an exception. So, yeah. Okay. Let's see. So when all values are set, theme is set. So in this case, we aren't going to do different values. I don't know if those... Should we take values in for these? Sure. Let's actually set these values. We can just validate that we actually get... Well, we're going to set all of them. It doesn't really make sense. We'll just do one. So this will be a simple unit test. So base theme, we will do base theme light. Currently in the 3.0 release, it is for the top level themes, you have to pick light or dark. I do have an outstanding feature request where if you select inherit and you're on Windows 10, I want it to fall back to the Windows theme. That way it follows with your light or dark. Let's see here. So primary color, we'll do blue. Or here, let's do the purple, because we'll make it match. We'll make it match the theme, and I believe it's purple and lime is the normal one. So, and then this guy here should not throw anymore. I should get back a theme object. So I theme, right? So that should pull me back a theme. And do I want to assert on anything here? I'm not sure. I probably should, just to make sure that it actually got set with the appropriate one. So assert equal, and what is the, I don't remember my lookup. There's a lookup call that has to be done to go swatch helper lookup. That's what it is. So swatch helper lookup, let's see here. Primary color, purple. Classwork due tomorrow, but don't think I'm going to be able to finish it. Just wrestling with concepts or not enough hours in a day? Well, worst case scenario, I would say it is probably, if you have to pick to study and try to understand the concepts, even if that means not necessarily always getting in the assignments. It will serve you better making sure that you understand the material rather than just kind of quickly turning something in. That gets you by in the short term, but doesn't help you long term. And I am not offended if you need to leave and go and actually get your coursework done. So let's see, primary color purple. What did you just do to me? Twitch, why did you empty my chat window? Unfortunately, my moderator extension apparently wiped my chat screen from me, so I missed the chat. 1 second. Let me pick. Oh, yeah. No, I get it. So I haven't actually done a lot of configuration on my moderator thing. I basically just turned on the, yeah, here, let's actually do some moderation, and didn't actually configure it too much. So yeah, it's all good. I was looking for primary color, so I actually care what this purple is, don't I? So purple swatch, because I don't actually know. Well, I guess I don't actually care. So this is my, because this swatch helper should be my same one here, and then this should be my theme, primary, mid, color. So those should match, right? And I would say that is the right attitude. Make sure you understand what you're learning. Primary color. Let's do secondary color lime. I believe that's the same lookup. It's just a yep. So this should be secondary mid. Boom. And then we'll just do an assertion on the let's see. There's a base theme object somewhere. Let's see here. It's buried in this get theme. Cool. Yeah, hey, I do appreciate it. Always good to have somebody else following. And if you got questions, by all means. I try to be conscious to make sure I'm not necessarily doing someone's homework, but I'm always happy to try and help to teach, or if you've got questions on anything, let me know. Like I said, I won't claim to be a C++ expert. It's been years since I've had to do any of it, and I've never had to do it commercially. So I've done some C, though. So there's a little bit overlap. Theme light dark. That's what I'm after. So back over here. So theme. I wouldn't drop the do my homework move on a teacher. I think most people who do a lot of development are actually pretty good about trying to help people. We all started learning at some point in our careers, and so for some of us that's more fresh in our minds than others. So let's see, material design body is the expected theme body. So if those all pass, we're going to call it good enough, because the important part here is not that all of the properties of the theme get set. That's not actually what's being tested. What we want to verify is that it has appropriately created a theme from the values that we passed. See you, Exotic Funk. Good luck on your homework. Try and get some sleep. Sleep is actually important. Okay, let's see here, because I think this will get us close to getting these guys tested and in. I have been going through trying to make sure that I add unit tests as new code comes in, especially for stuff that is unit testable, which there's a large bit of this library that's just not unit testable due to its nature. Cert equals failure. Well then, what failed? Where's my window showing me the actual output? There is a output window, and it is buried. Show output. There, that's what I want. Expected actual. Let's see, light material design body, theme background. Expected to get the light brush. Got something very much not the light brush. Interesting. So, what happened? Let's see here. So, base theme was set to light. Primary color, secondary color. Boy, I must be missing something. because I am not seeing it. Get base theme. Dark returns dark, light returns light. Okay. That gets that theme, set theme. Let's see here. Set solid color brush. Blah, blah, blah. Body, theme.body. Let's see here. Where did the theme create? Let's see. Set the base theme. This guy should have come in with here. Should have grabbed material design. Oh. Material design body. That is what we used. Okay. I'm grasping at straws here, and something's coming up. Something's coming up wrong, and so let's start with this. Let's dive into this guy and just see. Let's see. So material design body. Expected a lot of D's. So it's not something that's just backwards, right? It's interesting that it's saying all F's. That is not a color code that is really used inside of the theme much, which makes me very suspect that this is an issue of something not being set. Yeah, because it's not used anywhere inside of the dark theme. I suspect when I look at light, I'm going to see the same thing. Oh. Card background, design background. I didn't just botch the test, did I? Let's see. Oh. Well, I did do that. I compared if you're going to use body, you should use body in both places. Not background in one and body in the other. That'll probably do it. I was going to be a little shocked because I've got apps using this new stuff, and I would have liked to think I would have caught that bug. Flip you back over. Okay, so let's get this test going, and then I think we'll basically take these same tests and reapply them to the custom color, because it's basically the same problem. And green test. Success. Okay. So, in the interest of completely cheating, copy everything we just did, move it down. Let's see. Custom color theme tests, and then nope, don't apply rename refactoring. Move to your own file, please. Just move that out. Save all, and I got too much stuff open. So close all but this. Let's see here. So you change to custom color theme. You change to custom color theme. You are now colors. So we can do colors. Fuchsia, because nothing says awesome like a little bit of fuchsia. Colors lime, and that makes this a lot easier because rather than doing the lookup, we should be able to assert that this is colors fuchsia, and this should be colors lime, and the light thing should still work. So we'll do the same thing here. This is going to become a color. This is going to become a color. And so then you just need to become, we'll use blue again. So rather than primary color, that goes there, that goes there, and colors goes there. That, boom. I think that works, right? So what are you whining about? Oh, these are not. So in C# attributes, the values passed to attributes have to be compile time constants. When your C# gets compiled into IL, the values that are in those are literally just written straight into the IL, which is why they must be constant. The problem is even though these colors are basically constant because it's color from int value, and here's the codes for all of these. These are still effectively just static properties. When you call this, it still has to invoke this method and do this work. It's not necessarily known at compile time. So this is not going to work. Okay. Well, I guess that means we have to switch and not use inline data for this test. So we should be able to use, I believe it's member data. Name of and I don't quite remember the syntax for this. I always mess it up. So let's just look it up. XUnit member data. Basically, you can give it either a property or a function that returns an object array. Sure, this blog post looks like I've been there before. And from that array of, effectively an array of an array that you pass it, that's where it gets the value rather than looking at the, come on, let's go, rather than looking at the attributes. Okay, I'm going to put you on my second monitor. You think about what you've done for the moment, and I'm going to just build this out. So public, I think I can do an I enumerable of object array. So foo for now. Fix you up in a minute. And I think you have to be static. I think it has to be static. Let's see here. So we basically just need to convert all of you into, let's see. So name of will very much be helpful here. There you go. Let's see. Slowing typing performance. Yeah, believe me, I'm well aware that it's the cause of the performance problems. I know. At some point, I'm going to get fed up and uninstall it, but that is not a today thing. Actually, let's do this. Occasionally, let's see here. Code. Let's just fire up VS Code. Sometimes I find the multi-cursor support in VS Code to be absolutely amazing. So we're gonna, as soon as I figure out what window it's opening on, let me just gonna move it to the moment because I don't know what I had open last, and I don't want to necessarily get bit by something here. Oh, yeah, we're fine. We're fine. This is just one of my other projects. Okay, so paste there, highlight here, unindent. Let's see here, and the keyboard shortcut here is Control Shift Alt. So yield, return. Let's see. No, what is the? I believe it's Alt. No. Alt. Shh. Well, here we can do this, and I can go Control D all the way down. Let's see. So new array, like that, like that. And I think I actually need to do, because if I don't type the array, it's not going to be able to infer the type just from the values. So let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. Oh look, that other site is failing to load. Great. We can do this from memory. Oh, different one loads. Great. Great, 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 great. That will work. Okay, so, oh, got a semicolon on the end of them. Okay, so enable regex. Let's see. Match any character exactly one at the end of the string. All right. Let's see. Oh, I want that, and I want to replace with $0 semicolon. I think. Replace all. That'll work. If you've never learned regular expressions, learn a little bit, because it can really make your life a lot better. But there is always the running joke that if you solve a problem with regex, then you have two problems. Okay, so I believe we've come to the same conclusion as what we had here. Great. Inline data, we did that. Great, great, great. Class data, not what we want. Member data. So enumerable of object array, property. You can technically pass it parameters because it can be either a property or a method. Public static. Great. Wonderful. Okay, so that's where we're going. You, go away. Okay, so get theme values. Apply rename refactoring. That should change that up, and that should all work. And now we can pass through our color values, even though they aren't compile time constants. So run the unit tests, and then I think the only thing left on this pull request. So this changed the base library, but those markup extensions are actually used by the Ma apps integration library as well, and so we're just going to go and change those as well to basically do the same thing. That way it tracks right along with the base library, because I do want to try and keep the APIs the same. I think I should go through. I've got to remember that this is going to be a breaking change. I've got a running list. Huzzah, unit test passes. Great. Of all of the breaking changes coming in 3.0. Again, I don't expect this one will break too many people unless you are like deriving from the built-in markup extensions to do your own thing, which is perfectly doable, and this will be a breaking change that is coming. So I am also noticing that this project doesn't have a unit test project. Probably a problem. Okay. So the Ma apps bundled theme derives from bundled theme. And this is why there was the protected set theme. So let's go through and do, let's see here. I think this is probably, why are you squawking? Base theme light. Oh, because it's resolving. Clever. So I accidentally caused a breaking change with the rename. Got it. Material design themes. I think this will get fixed if we clean this up. So let's change this guy here, because I don't think we need to pass in the resource dictionary itself anymore. That's just going to become a this call, because we are this object itself is a resource dictionary. Sorry. It is getting late. Let's see, is base theme, the enum please. Base theme. So we're going to do the same sort of pattern matching that we did before. Grab this guy. So theme manager, I'm wondering if yeah, that's fine. Okay, so this goes then to a lowercase b. That now works. Everyone's happy there. Let's do WPF dot. Just disambiguate that guy. And then this guy needs to be set theme. Let's see. Protected, virtual, set theme, theme. Alright. So this guy comes through here. This guy is just going to call set theme directly. And if you don't set a return type, it gets very, very confused. Okay, so private method builds the theme, calls set theme. Oh, this will be a problem if we do this. Because this has the same signature as the extension method. You'll notice as soon as I rename this, now magically the extension method comes in and takes over, which is what we want. So let's change this up a little. Apply theme. We'll call this apply theme. And drop the 2. And everything should line up straight now. Okay, so that goes there, and now we just need to fix the app side of things. So protected override, this guy will become apply theme. Apply theme. And this guy really should always have a value, but I just don't want to make that assumption. Oh, sure, we'll take some performance gains. Why not? Okay, so this guy here is now working, and the Ma apps custom color theme. Same changes here. So apply theme, drop the resource dictionary, replace it with calls to this. And this becomes base, apply theme. Oh, I need to make the same change over here. Let's see. Just in the interest of keeping things consistent. There's probably a common base class between these two. Maybe. Seems really wasteful to have a common base class simply for the one method. If anyone feels strongly, post a comment or an issue. I'm not opposed to it. It just feels like building the object hierarchy. It's a principle called Yagni. You ain't gonna need it. I kind of feel like that right now. Okay, so if base theme is base theme, let's go through and build this guy out. Boom. So this becomes a lowercase b, and we have the same issue here with the ambiguous reference. So we'll clean that up, and then same static change there, and it should just work. Great. If anyone wants to go through and start up a unit test project for this and basically mirror the same thing that was done here, that would be great. I think for now I'm going to just push this. Okay, so let's review changes. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so MOPS changes are the ones that we just did. So they should match. Set theme goes to apply theme. Null checks with pattern matching. Set base up. Those go through and work. This guy sets up and works. I suppose we should probably actually fire up the demo app real quick and just make sure everything is still kosher. I want to double check because this is now primary color, secondary color. So just to make sure that this all works, we're going to comment this out, and this should fire up and work just fine. Okay, well that's going. I'll go back to review this. Keep going here. So bundled theme is the new one like what we set up. Great, great, great. Custom color theme, basically the exact same thing. Nullable properties all the way down. Let's see, resource dictionary extensions. Generated files. Visual Studio, you are making reviewing a diff very hard. I understand you're compiling. Stop messing with my diff viewer. Okay. Resource dictionary extensions. Just the white space line cleanup. This guy was removed, which makes sense, and then we added some unit tests. Great. That looks like it. So let's add a few comments here. So removed markup extension in favor of resource dictionaries. Added unit tests. Added Ma apps integration changes. So we'll make sure this works. And as long as this guy fires up, I think we're just going to push it and then let DevOps do its thing and then get this guy merged in. So for anyone who has been dealing with this warning in Visual Studio, I am sorry for introducing it. Like I said, ReSharper hides it from me because ReSharper hijacks the IntelliSense in Visual Studio if you let it. And so it puts its own in its place, and ReSharper is actually hip to the idea of the markup extension attributes. Look at that. Theme colors. We are good. Sweet. So the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. Let's see. Undo, undo, save, and we are just going to cheat the system a little bit and amend our previous commit with that. Which should work great, and then we'll just push all of this up and let the pull request merge in. So thank you, Andrew Smolak. I hope I'm pronouncing that close to correct. Thank you for going through and starting this work for it. This was great, and I do appreciate it. It's always easier for me when I've got somebody else who is running without Visual Studio. I was worried I was going to have to go through and get my box into a clean state. Come on, amend previous commit. It's not hard. Get cracking. You can do it. Oh, if you don't stage anything, it has nothing. It has nothing to amend. So you are unfortunately doing exactly what I told you to do. Great. That commit's fixed. Push and force push. So that'll go up, and then assuming the CI system runs and this is all clean, we will get that one merged in. I think I am probably going to cut out a little early tonight. I know it's about 10 minutes sooner, but I don't think I'm going to get through the other issue in 10 minutes. And I've still got stuff to do tonight before I can sleep. And as I said earlier, sleep is actually important. So hopefully, like I said, I'm going to try to get as many of these 3.0 issues in and merged by the time .NET 3 ships. If people are willing and able to test the preview NuGet packages, they go out daily, or at least every day where there's been a change made, there's a new preview NuGet package out there for you to try. So if people want to try it, give it a shot. Let me know if there are bugs, issues, if anything comes up. Best ways to get a hold of me are either the Gitter chat room, which you can find a link for it right on the main repo, or you can always drop an issue. I don't mind if people put questions in the issues. It does take a little more overhead to process them, so the Gitter chat is definitely preferred. But I do answer questions in there as well. So, or you can always leave a comment on this video and let me know what you think. So, for now, I am going to say good night and happy coding.